OCM. Nice to be back. The bit of presentation I'm going to do right now is concerning the selection of the material to make a canoe. The West Coast is very rich and very wealthy with the abundance of red cedar and all its various cedar trees. But the red cedar is the perfect material for making canoes and has been for thousands of years. When someone has put out a request to have a canoe made, then that begins the process of selecting a tree. And during that process, cultural workers, spiritual workers, the carver, anybody that's concerned will approach the tree, will acknowledge the tree, will make offerings to the spirits to take care of the tree. And then once the tree comes down, it is left on the ground for about a year so that the moisture will drain and the canoe will be ready, will be dry enough to be worked with. Then the cedar is taken off, the cedar bark is taken off, excuse me, and used for various things. We make our bailers for bailing the canoe out of cedar bark. We make our hats out of the inner layer of the cedar. When it is decided that the canoe is going to be a certain length or certain dimensions, then the canoe, the log, the tree is halved, in saying that it's halved from stem to stern and separating the north from the south. The south part of the tree is where all the branches grow, so we want to stay away from that. Concerning the knots and what have you, that'll make it a little more difficult to carve. The northern part is fairly clean, and so we use that part to make our canoe. Once it is decided how much is going to be the canoe from that tree, then it is laid on dunnage, which is other logs or material not allowed to be put on the ground. Then it will be, then this north half will be flipped over so that we can work on the hull first. Once that is taken care of, then it's turned over again and we work on the inside. It takes about 3 months to make a canoe because we have to be observant and we have to be aware of everything that's going on while the canoe is being made. We have to watch for it to crack. We have to watch for various things that might be detrimental. We could have rotten wood someplace, things of that nature. And then when the inside is taken out and we have the canoe pretty much already shaped out, then it's flipped back over again where we can work on the hull. All this time that we're working on the canoe, it is the teachings that go with making a canoe is that we can't be in a bad place mentally or spiritually, physically. So if someone is under the influence of alcohol, for instance, they're not allowed to touch a canoe. If some of the teachings, traditions vary up and down the coast. Here in Squamish territory, both men and women work on a canoe. Northern folks from, traditional times anyway, they wouldn't allow the women to work on canoes because the finished product, the canoe, when it's done, is considered to be female. So we don't want any differences or anything, squabbles or whatever, happening between the spirits of the people that are making the canoe and the canoe itself. That's a tradition, that's a teaching. Again, we don't follow that in Squamish territory. Also, you got to be aware of where you are mentally and spiritually. You have to have the right mindset and focus so that you can be putting all your snab, your mana, your medicine into the canoe. The women that are working, the only exception we make in the Squamish territory is that when a woman is on her moon time, we ask that she stay off the canoe. This is just extra insurance in that we don't involve anything that's going to be detrimental. It is believed that the women are more strong when they're on their moon time, so we have to be careful. And then we texture 3/4 inch wide grooves from stem to stern. And texturing means that we don't make it a smooth groove and that it is textured out with an adze. And the depth of the groove will be about an 1/8 inch, 1/16 of an inch. The width again will be 3/4 of an inch. And what this does for the canoe is allows the canoe to slip along through the water with great ease, a lot more easier than it would if it was a smooth hull. Um, Vessels traveling across the water with smooth hulls have a tendency to drag because they suck the water to the hull when they're moving. So the purpose of these grooves on a canoe is for the opposite effect, in that the water is agitated from stem to stern, creating bubbles. And the canoe actually travels on bubbles and is therefore much easier to maneuver and much easier to handle. And this is very important when it comes to the water conditions that we happen to be in. The West Coast has, as you know, various kinds of waters: big water, choppy water, smooth water with big rollers, sea rollers, currents, various conditions when they're out there. So it's good to have something that we know is going to be dependable and is going to do what we require to be able to move our family around safely. So all of this goes into consideration when a cohort, seagoing canoe especially, is being created. And it'll take, again, I say, probably about 3 months. We don't want to rush them. Back in the day, they would take up to 2 years to make a canoe because the canoe is going to be there forever. Once we get past the creation of the canoe, then there's ceremony that allows us to put more attention and more of our stop, our medicine into the canoe. And we have a naming ceremony, we have a waking ceremony, we have a sleeping ceremony, and then we'll have just ways of brushing the canoe so that anything that it might have accumulated negatively will be brushed off. And so these things are taken into consideration when we are becoming a family of the canoe, when we're preparing to visit other nations. A lot of homework, a lot of research goes into that. So, but having the proper kind of canoe to handle the waters that we have here is a bit of an art form, and we take great pride in our canoes and also the way that they can handle. What was the